Arlo, who deserves another video at this point.
Well, better late than never. A while ago, I made a video on John. Well, I've made a lot of videos on John. But in the most recent one, I mentioned our antagonist? Villain? Kind of annoying at first, a backstabber and a stubborn fool? That the old King of Wellston, Arlo himself, needed a new video, as I haven't made a video dedicated to him in, a little under 2 years. And unsurprisingly, a lot has changed in 2 years. John got a new haircut, and it's debatable whether you like it or not. But a lot of our characters have gone through some very interesting changes and developments, and none more than our boy, Arlo. But before seeing who he became, we need to see who he was. Now, if you're used to Arlo now, Arlo before might be a little bit of a mind trip. Unlike the unsmiling and serious Arlo we see nowadays, his first appearance was him smiling. Who is this man and what have you done with Arlo? Arlo here is smiling, complimenting Seraphina and kind of being a bit of a creep. But what's always been part of him is that he's seemingly always scheming. Right when he asks Seraphina for a favor and on their train ride to the turf war, Arlo is constantly scheming. As even when he's telling the truth, he's still kind of lying. Tricking Seraphina into going into turf war, using her to scare his opponents. However, like many of his schemes, they all tend to backfire. As when Arlo starts to go a little too far, Seraphina steps up to him, managing to break his shield and heal herself like it never happened. Absolutely wrecking Arlo, but more importantly, undermining his strength, his authority, and especially his pride. And his hurt pride, authority, strength, and ego is definitely what drives many of his actions in Season 1. Because Seraphina hurt his precious little ego, Arlo wants to know why the old ace of the school, the person who was the most serious, studious, powerful, and someone who respected authority, is now someone who does not care about much, constantly skipping classes, and fights anyone she wants to. Someone who actively goes against authority and goes against the system. That reason, if you've seen any of my Seraphina videos, is John, as he manages to better her. However, Arlo did not know who John was. Why would he? John is not only in a lower grade than Arlo, and he's in a completely different social circle, but John has lived his life in Wellston as a crippled. He's lived his life powerless, at the bottom. The hierarchy is very much a thing in Wellston. Heck, Arlo is literally known as the King of Wellston for a good amount of this series. There's a queen and a jack. The more physical power and strength you have, the more social power you have. And John had none of it, but Arlo had all of it. So it made sense that these two never really crossed paths. So when he finally learns that John not only exists, but is the main reason for Seraphina's change, John gets a big old target on his back. But that brings us to an important question. Why? Why does Arlo care about this? Why does he care about Seraphina's change into someone else? Why does he care about the person who changed her? Arlo and Seraphina weren't super close. Sure, she was the old Queen of Wellston, but it's not like there isn't currently a strong queen. That being Remy, the Queen of Lightning McQueen. The point is that it's bizarre that Arlo would care so much about it. Blake didn't really care, Remy didn't either. Eisen and Cecile didn't. Well, Cecile kinda did, but never to this extent. She really only wanted power. Meanwhile, Arlo was basically the strongest student with social respect, as Seraphina abandoned her position along with her expectations. So why would Arlo want a stronger royal that could overpower him? This question is really important, especially when it comes to John. If you've been around any platform, either ShyChef or Webtoon, or Instagram, or Twitter, Reddit, that Amiibo app. A lot, yeah. Anywhere with Unordinary spoilers, you'll know that John has one of the strongest powers in Wellston. Aura manipulation. The ability to mimic and improve other people's abilities. Not to mention being a smart and skilled fighter. John could easily rule Wellston. Why he doesn't is a bit of a long story, so you can check out those videos there. But the point is that he doesn't. He's, well, not content, but accepting of a life where he's constantly picked on and beat up. That was until Arlo. Now Arlo does get curious about the crippled who changed the ace. How did these two even become friends in the first place? Why does this powerless cripple carry himself around like a royal? Why does he live his life so recklessly? Why isn't he afraid? These questions lead Arlo to seek the help of Eisen. And by seek the help of, I mean kind of threaten Eisen to find out info on John. Eventually, John is found out. Eisen discovers that John was not only lying about having an ability, but also discovers that John was lying about being homeschooled. Discovering that he was kicked out of his old school for excessive violence. That he was so powerful that his school could not control him. Even after being told all of this, even being warned by Eisen to stay away and keep John happy, Arlo proceeds to do none of that. As he gets Seraphina suspended from school, basically kicking out John's only friend and protector. Sicking a bunch of students and some of his own goons onto John to break his phone and further limit their contact. Pretends to be friends with John and proceeds to bring him to an isolated area where there's no one around for probably miles, with the help of these two other students who proceed to beat up John, force him onto the ground, all on a hunch that John might have some powers that he wants to see. You know, sometimes I forget why we still kind of hate Arlo a little bit, but this is a helpful reminder. After his schemes fail, he gets beat down very quickly, basically losing his title. Arlo becomes John's errand boy. But even when he stands up to John, it backfires, as John proceeds to try and destroy the hierarchy, going through high tiers and royals to prove his point. Arlo goes into a bit of a slump, upset that the person with power can't be a leader. Which brings us back to the question I presented earlier, that being why. Why does Arlo care so much about Seraphina's change of heart? Care so much that John hides his powers and wants to stay alone, hidden away from authority and the system? Why does Arlo care? Tradition is a fun word. We all have traditions. Traditions from our family, our friends, maybe your own traditions, maybe even traditions you want to start, but traditions are practically everywhere. And they're rarely problematic. There are some that are a little dicey, but traditions usually, hopefully, don't hurt anyone. Where tradition really starts to become a problem is when tradition affects society. When it's the only reason that things stay the same, or when people get hurt. The reason I bring this up is because tradition can be great, but it can also be harmful, regressive, and corruptive, especially if taught to our younger generations as the only way. We hear that elite tiers, and especially high tiers, are taught the responsibility of power, the importance of how strong they are, and likely how much they can and should show their strength. We hear it very early on, directly from Arlo. Order is natural. The weak cower in fear of the strong. Those with similar status get along. Everyone has his rightful place in society. That's why hierarchy is natural. Because people naturally gravitate to where they belong. But I don't think those thoughts are Arlo's alone. Don't get me wrong, they are his, but I think there was a hand guiding him in the wrong direction. After Arlo foolishly tries to reintroduce John into the hierarchy, John starts to rampage through the school, and Arlo gets frustrated? A fool like him doesn't deserve to hold so much power. He's a coward. He isn't mentally fit to lead. He isn't fit to lead. And he's been fully aware of this all along. That's why he ejected himself from the hierarchy. I'm the one who pushed him. Regardless of what he said or did, I continued to push him. And now, all of Wellston is being punished for it. Arlo realizes he's wrong. His mentality doesn't fit everyone in every situation. He still carries the mentality around, but he's willing to change, willing to see reform, until Val. When Arlo and Val are alone, we hear her constantly talk down to her nephew, upset that he's choosing to take it easy, choosing to focus on different things. Talk about how she's disappointed in him, on how his parents would be disappointed in him. These aren't supportive adults. They're the ones who force their tradition onto him, and it almost works again, as he falls back into not caring about anything but himself and the system, but yet again, it gets broken. Not by John, but by Serafina. When he finds out that Ember, the shadow organization that killed a bunch of young vigilantes, including his old mentor, and the one I've made one too many videos on, is funded directly by the authorities. Arlo has always had his trust in the system. Whether it be the hierarchy, the authorities, power, he's always had faith that the system is there to ensure the best possible outcome. That's why he never minded doing some morally gray things in order to get people back into the system. He thought it worked, so why not get them back into it? But here we see that Arlo's trust in it shatters. No system is perfect, but this system is so flawed that not only did it make a boy with anger issues and PTSD the ruler of a school, but it also had people killed for standing up for what they believe in. Arlo can't trust the system anymore. He can't. Not the authorities, not even his aunt. So he's placing his trust onto other people. Like Remy, who's been ushering change in for everyone, introducing the safe house, introducing a place where people can be equal. Or Serafina, someone who's been at the top and at the bottom. Even John now, someone with the power to change the system. Arlo's arc is about trust. His trust in the system. How it starts to fade, and how he eventually finds something new to trust in. Arlo changes for the better. Sure, he's still a bit rude, and, you can't forgive everything he's done in the past, but he's doing a great job now, and I hope we see more of it in the future. But that's all for today. So like always, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next week. Take care.